Hey y'all. Hey. Excuse me while I get in the spice cabinet. Hope all is going well. On the menu today is a creamy garlic pasta. So of course I'm looking for my garlic powder. Yes, it would have made sense to find this stuff before starting, but sometimes life just ain't that organized. And I'm not gonna pretend like it is. Pull the pepper down, pull the salt down. We already have the pasta on. So, got a little bit of better than bouillon roasted garlic. I'm gonna use that in the place of minced garlic. And I am still hunting for garlic powder. Happy Thursday. Happy Thursday. Let's grab some accent. All right. I'll do garlic salt since I can't find garlic powder, which means we're gonna have to trim down the amount of salt we use. That is so weird that I can't find my garlic powder. The cook needs her garlic powder. Let's see. Hey, one person. How are you? Ooh. Okay. Today we're making a creamy garlic pasta. Let me know if you are catching the replay. It is inspired by this recipe by Beth Monsell. I never cook anything that's not like authentically mine and try to take credit for it. I always try to give credit where credit is due. So I'm not following this exactly, but I am gonna use it as like a guide. Now, I'm not eating this because I'm not a fan of mushrooms. My husband asked me to fix this, and so I said, okay. And like I said, the pasta is already in the pot, and so the mushrooms are here. I told him I was gonna roast him a little bit because he must have picked up the worst looking mushrooms he could find, but I'm gonna make them look a little bit better. And then we're going to go from there. And I'm only gonna pick out the ones that look decent. The ones that I would eat if I did eat mushrooms. So I'm gonna drain those. I do see a few people in the chat. Hello, feel free to drop down out of the little people box and say hi. I don't bite. You know, I'm not a all things prepped, add this, add that. No, I run my mouth and cook at the same time. No matter what I'm doing, I run my mouth and do it all at the same time. So we're going to dump the mushrooms. I might need to lower y'all so you can see a little bit, or maybe we'll just. So we're gonna dump the mushrooms, and then I always pat them dry. I'm not a fan of mushrooms, like I said. Let me know if you like them. I don't. Hey, Ethan, how are you? Thanks for stopping by. Thanks for dropping out of the chat or out of the little people box up there and saying hello. So the recipe I'm using said that this prep time is 30 minutes. But I know for me, it's going to be a little bit more than that. And like I said, I'm not eating this because I don't eat mushrooms. I'm making it for my husband, and he went mushroom shopping, so I'm going to take a little bit of time to make these look a little bit. Do you? What do you eat mushrooms on? Now, I know some people use mushrooms as a substitute for like meat and stuff. Some people like them sauteed. In order for me to eat them, they have to be buried in a meatloaf I make. So when I make my turkey meatloaf, I do use mushrooms because they add the moisture. But other than that, you don't need to offer me any mushrooms because the answer is probably going to be no. You put them in spaghetti. I like the other shroom. Oh, yeah, no, we don't do those. Sorry. We're talking mushrooms when cooking over here. And so because these aren't the best looking, I gotta shape them up a little bit. Hey, how are you all coming in? Doing a little mushroom pasta here. So that's all this calls for is mushrooms, butter, flour, a little bit of minced garlic. And so I'm going to use garlic salt and a garlic base instead of the actual garlic because we don't have any of that. But we have plenty of other garlicky things. So we get the mushrooms chopped thinly. Hope y'all are doing all right today as we sail closer to Friday. It's a pretty interesting news cycle today. So just want to encourage people who come across this live to try not to consume the news today all day. Quite a tragedy has taken place, and you know the news covers stuff nonstop like that, so I can't imagine that it's good on anybody's mental health to just sit and listen to that stuff all day. So we're almost near the tail end of salvaging the mushrooms. Where are you all located? Let me know where you're from. It's always interesting to see where YouTube pushes the live videos and who sees and who doesn't see, where people are joining from, all that jazz. Me personally don't care about that news. It's pointless feeling pity because that does nothing. Well, you know, lives were lost, and that's always a tragedy. Everybody's entitled to their own opinion, but you know, sometimes people just get caught up in things like that and tend to consume a little more of it than they should. So, hey Rosie, how you doing? Making a mushroom pasta, girl. I was telling I was mentioning earlier that I had one little packet of mushrooms here. I didn't buy the mushrooms. So the mushrooms that my husband picked up are a little almost on their way out. So I got to do a little salvaging before I actually use them for the pasta. And I don't eat mushrooms, so I won't be eating this. But I am going to taste the sauce. Because if you cook and you don't taste as you go along, what are you doing? What are you doing? If you're in the kitchen and you're cooking, especially for other people, and you're not tasting it to make sure it's good, then what are you doing? Hey, Ethan, my favorite thing to cook is probably, I don't know. That's a good question. I just like to cook. I don't really have a favorite thing to cook. I just have to be in the mood to turn the pots on. If I had to pick one thing, I would say maybe my mom's macaroni and cheese, and I haven't made that in a while, actually. I think we did enough of that around the holidays, around Christmas and Thanksgiving. We were kind of recycling that traditional food. Although for Christmas we did a seafood boil. We did a little bit of the traditional food, but so yeah, maybe macaroni and cheese. I was in charge of the Thanksgiving turkey. That was pretty fun to do. This was my second year being assigned and being on turkey duty. I love to cook donut holes. I need to figure out, I'm not much of a baker, but I can make a mean boxed cake. Maybe I can try to do some baking. Maybe, do you cook Caribbean food or just American dishes? So funny you should ask that, Colin, because I have a Caribbean jerk marinade in my pantry that I'm just trying to figure out what to put it on. I was gonna do a Cornish hen, and I still might, but I also was thinking about trying to do like lamb chops and stuff. I went to a restaurant where they did Caribbean jerk lamb chops, and so now I'm torn. Okay, y'all, I think this is the last of the mushrooms. I'm not gonna try to salvage anymore because it is what it is. Okay, so this is the side I'm going to be using. This is the side I'm going to be tossing. So we're going to get that off of the cooking board. If y'all are typing inappropriate messages in the chat, YouTube isn't letting them come through, just to let you know. So don't waste your finger power. All right, we are going to, we're going to saute some butter in here. So we got garlic herb butter. I got two kinds of garlic herb butter, so I'm just gonna mix it. That's what I mean when I say I don't always follow recipes. I just kind of go for what I know. So that's that. They kind of look the same, they smell the same, but let's get this turned up a little bit. So I think you're supposed to use like 3 tablespoons of butter. I'm just eyeing this stuff. I'm going to eye it. Yep, 3 tablespoons of butter. And so while this is in, we're going to saute this and then we're going to add the mushrooms. No. Hey, y'all, just coming in, making a creamy mushroom pasta. What did you have for lunch? I haven't eaten lunch yet. Isn't that crazy? Have you ever had chicken Alfredo? It's my fave. I have had chicken Alfredo. I make a mean chicken Alfredo with broccoli. And by mean, I just mean that it's really tasty. So got some pasta over here. Rosie, do you go to work today? Holly and Fry say, I made it to 1.1K. I woke up this morning and I had 1.06K. Congratulations. Congratulations. All right. I need a camera that kind of follows you around. So we're just going to kind of mix this down a little bit. And typically, to be honest with you, the base for most sauces are the same. You do a little butter, you do a little flour, you do a little broth of choice, and then maybe some heavy whipping cream. This recipe calls for half and half, but I'm going to use heavy whipping cream instead because I don't have half and half, and I'm not going to go buy it just for cooking one meal that calls for half and half instead of heavy whipping cream. Holly says, I also love your videos. Thank you. Like I said at the beginning of this one, I come on and I just am who I am. Like I'm not, you know, some people have professional setups and whatever. Typically, if you see me cooking, you're going to see me with the same 2 green pots or the 2 smaller ones. The green pot gang is what I use to cook. All right, then we're supposed to add 3 tablespoons of sugar. Not sugar, sorry, flour. So here we go. And we got to stir it up in there. So let's get that going. I'm really bad when it comes to eyeing measurements. Let's see, add the sliced mushrooms. Pasta is cooking, add the butter, blah, blah, blah. Oh, we add the mushrooms and then we add the flour. So I'm gonna put that there. We've already washed and cut these, so I'm gonna add those into the pot. And we're gonna let them saute for a little bit. I feel like I wanna season it now because that's just what I'm used to doing. So I'm just gonna add a little bit of garlic salt and some accent. The cook in me wants to season when I saute and not after. And then right before we add the flour, we'll do a little bit of, not that cheese, we'll do a little bit of garlic bouillon base. So like I said, this is an inspired recipe. I'm not following the recipe exactly. If you want to record yourself cooking, do the same thing. Set up what you need, set the camera up, record and talk. People who come across your videos that like watching people cook will stop to look. Let me get a towel so I can show y'all. We are using penne pasta and not fettuccine like this calls for. So you know, it's over here. You definitely don't have to be a perfect cook. Every once in a while, I'll pull a noodle out to see if it's ready. Ethan says I like to cook, but I also like sports like basketball. Nothing wrong with that. A little bit longer. We're gonna turn it up some. And then for the flour, I'm gonna use this. It calls for 3 tablespoons of flour, so I'll be scooping the flour with this. And we're gonna whisk it around in here with the mushrooms. And I know some of you know, but mushrooms kind of make their own juice, so you wanna be sure that it's cooked down a little bit before you add in anything else. And then we also need to add some broth, so let me go grab that. So this is chicken broth. Who was on when I made the zuppa toscana? This is the same chicken broth I used when I made that. So this is the leftover that we're using. I've always been made fun of a, I don't understand what that means, Ethan. You've always been made fun of on TikTok? Is that what you're saying? All right, let me straighten this up just a little bit. Paper plates are my thing. These are my thing. Sorry to hear that. You gotta block out the noise though, always. Block out the noise. People gonna have something to say all the time, whether you're doing something they like or whether you're doing something they don't like. Folks are always gonna talk. Just gotta remember that. All right. Looks like our mushrooms are kind of sauteed down in our butter. It's amazing to me when cooking how things that look like they're not going to be anything actually turn out to be really, really good. And so the next step now is adding the flour and sauteing until the flour turns golden brown and coats the bottom of the pan. So we're doing 3 tablespoons. This looks like a whole lot to me. So what I'm gonna do is do 2 and then mix. All right. I can't just let the flour sit in there. It just doesn't sit well with my spirit. So one thing about flour when cooking, if you feel like you don't want to add as much as the recipe calls for, and you're making a sauce, that's okay because you can always add flour to it later to thicken it up. So try not to get too bent out of shape about it, whether or not you've added enough. And now this calls for vegetable broth, but I'm using chicken broth just because. We're gonna turn this down. And we're going to use 1.5 cups of veggie broth. In this case, chicken broth. And I'm rushing because I don't want my stuff to burn, so I'm just gonna go ahead and I'll close the cabinet door in a minute. So that's 1 cup. Turn it up a little bit. And then 1 more cup. Oh, 1/2 cup. And we're going to whisk. And whisking is to get the flour mixed up really good so that it doesn't clump, and then you have dumplings. That's how you make dumplings. A classic Indian snack. Here's a simple recipe. Well, it looks like it cut off butter. I'm sure that's what you were trying to say at the end, but thank you so very much for that. So now we have what looks like a little nice base. So we're gonna let that cook just a little bit, and then we're gonna test the pasta again. We are going to add a little bit of onion powder. A little bit of garlic salt. It says cracked pepper, but we're using ground pepper just the same. And then we're going to turn the sauce up so it can come to a boil and thicken just a little bit. And now I'm going to go ahead and mix in the roasted garlic bouillon base. I'm going to whisk it in now that everything's cooking. I think I'm just going to use 1/2 teaspoon. No, the recipe doesn't call for that. However, I didn't use minced garlic, so we'll use that to give it a burst of flavor. And we're gonna whisk it in and stir it in real good. I think we're gonna take the spinach out to see if we have space to add spinach to the pasta. We might not have enough space. You can test for me. First test. Ooh, you dropped it. Oh, and it's hot. Perfect. So let me drain that. This is starting to thicken, y'all. See, it was kind of a broth consistency now. Now it's starting to thicken up a little bit. So after I drain this, I'm going to add, make sure that's the time to add the heavy whipping cream. Stir the half and half into the sauce. 1/2 cup? No, we're gonna do a little more than that. All right. Give me 1 second here. All right, there's our pasta. I just drained it and set it on top of a smaller pot. Turn that off. Grab our half and half. We're substituting and using heavy whipping cream. Ooh. Would help if we open it first. All right, we'll start with 1/2 cup. We're going to stir in 1/2 cup. Which I don't think is enough. So what I'm gonna do is take a spoon and taste this. This is how you make a pasta sauce from scratch. All right, let's see. I'm not a mushroom fan, but I am gonna add some of this cheese into the sauce to give it a taste. Garlic Romano seasoning. It's a really good cheesy sauce. Tastes good. That's really good. But I feel like it's missing some garlic Romano cheese. So we're gonna add that. Here's where you get creative and make it your own. If you want to kick it up a notch, you can always add some red chili flakes. I'm not a huge fan of red chili flakes, but in pasta, I like it on pizza. All right, so I'm going to show you the sauce close up. Those of you who were here from the beginning, it came out really nice and creamy. See the mushrooms in there? So maybe I'll add a little bit of spinach. Who knows what the problem with spinach is? What happens to it when you add it to anything? I'm sure somebody knows. nothing. It's almost like you might as well not have added it. All right, so here's the spinach. We gave it a rinse. Put it on the back eye. So when you get ready to add like rinsed veggies to sauces and things that you've already prepared, it's a good idea to rinse them off, because if not, they dilute the sauce that you've already made. So I've already pretty much made and seasoned that. And so now adding the spinach with the water, I don't want it to dilute the taste. All right, we're gonna stir the spinach and then we're gonna fold the pasta in. This didn't make a whole lot. Maybe the next time, if this batch is good, if my husband likes this batch, I'll make a larger batch the next time. So we're gonna scoop the pasta in. And mix as we go along to make sure we don't mess up our cheese to pasta ratio. Let's taste the sauce one more time after we've added. I feel like it could use a little bit of salt. We're gonna turn that back up. And then maybe a drizzle of some garlic and herb olive oil. Just a drizzle. Do one more spoon before we mix again. So I don't regret not using that other tablespoon of flour, because I think it would have thickened it too much. So I'm just gonna turn it up a little bit. I feel like the next time we use a little more mushroom. We like our pasta to be a little saucy, so we're gonna leave that there. And I'm gonna show it to you. All the junk out of the way. Let it thicken up just a bit. Add a little more garlic Romano. Like I said, making Alfredo sauce is super duper easy. The base is pretty much the same. You know, some people use broth. This recipe called for it, but typically, you know, heavy whipping cream, seasonings, whatever else you want to put in it. But there is the creamy mushroom pasta from the lady who's cooking in the average green pots. So I will probably add some more spinach to this because it's not as spinach heavy as I would like. And I can do that because I feel like there's enough sauce for it. And spinach doesn't take up a lot of space in the pot. So if you want to stick around to watch me do that, feel free. I'm going to give it a good rinse. And then be sure to save some to put in my ramen. Do y'all eat ramen? Your own homemade version of ramen? So like I said, be sure to dry it out. Whatever you're adding to the pot after you season your sauce, if you have to wash it, be sure you dry it so it doesn't dilute the sauce that you've already seasoned. Knowing, of course, that people can use their own salt and pepper. Thank you. Sometimes the process to making things are slow and painful, and as you're going along making it, it's like, what is that gonna turn out looking like? Gonna bring you all closer since I'm almost done and I've moved most of my stuff out of the way. Can give you a decent look at the pot. We're gonna fold this in. Let it cook a little and be done. Ooh, that looks so good. And then if you have Parmesan cheese to put on it, you can. I don't know if my husband's gonna eat this now or later. If he's not gonna eat it now, I will plate just a small bit to taste because like I said, I'm not a fan of mushrooms. I'll probably skip around the mushrooms just to show you how it looks. So as you stir and cook, it wilts on down. Now all that spinach I put in the pot and you can barely see it. Barely see it. Ooh. So let me see if he's gonna eat this now or wait. Forgive me while I holler upstairs. Are you gonna eat this now? Yeah, I just need to plate it and put some Parmesan cheese on it. Okay. So you gonna eat this now? He said, you done recording? All right, if you've been over here, you already know. We are the paper plate gang. So make sure I get him some pieces with mushrooms. Mushroom and spinach. Give you guys the first bite for hanging around. Have some. What you saying? Yep, too. Astro edits. Paper plates. It's what we do. It's what we do. All right, so we're gonna put that on. Look at the mushroom. You can see the mushrooms in there. Look at that. Ooh, that looks delectable, does it not? He said not a lot of Parmesan cheese, so we'll honor his wishes. I'm gonna move that out the way. Sprinkle a little Parmesan. I don't think that's a lot. And bon appetit. Hey Hazel, how are you? We are almost done. It's been a quiet day over here in the live kitchen, but that's fine. Creamy mushroom pasta is what was on the menu. You can see the mushrooms, the spinach, and the noodles. I modified it a little bit from a recipe that I used. Yeah, gonna have to catch the replay. Everybody was well behaved too, so that's a good thing. But yeah, y'all, thank you for hanging out, and I am going to go see what the thoughts are on how this turned out. Okay? Toodles.